you got yourself a sweet blade. I have 3D printed a lot of stuff, so I just had to make the new Minecraft movie sword. Before I print the sword, I need a 3D model, so I found some pictures of the sword and started modeling it in Blender. Because the sword is just made up of a bunch of blocks, it was really easy to model with the help of a few modifiers. To make the model more realistic, I also added a steel texture to the model.
Flint and steel.
With the model done, I cut it into parts from my 3D printer and made some space for a support stick inside the sword. And with that, I think it's time to start printing. If you want to print your own sword, you can get the 3D model with the link up in the corner. It really helps support the channel and all the cool projects. So thanks a lot for buying all my models and supporting the channel. With some parts already printed, I started removing some of the support material while I waited for the rest of the parts to print. The cubic shape of the guard piece made it a bit tricky to get out all the supports, but after a while I was able to get out all the supports and the guard piece looked great. Now the rest of the parts were done printing, so I removed all the supports from them, which was super easy and really satisfying, just snapping away every small bit of support. With the supports removed, I got the support stick and put together the handle and the guard pieces, so I can measure out the length of some popsicle sticks that I will use for the handle. Once I measured the popsicle sticks, I cut them to shape so they fit the handle nicely. I used popsicle sticks to make the sword a bit more realistic and give the handle a bit of a wood texture. With the popsicle sticks cut, I decided to sand all the corners of the parts just a tiny bit to smooth them out. I didn't sand this project a ton because I wanted to keep the texture I put on the 3D model, and the paint will cover up most of the print lines anyway. And after a bit of sanding, it's time to glue everything together. So I got the support stick and started gluing the parts to it. With a bunch of super glue and some hot glue, I put the parts on one after another. Everything fit perfectly and the support stick really helped to stir up the sword. Which is important because this sword is quite thin and I want to be able to swing it around a lot. And, you know, spam that attack button and defeat a bunch of mobs. Once it was all put together, I could finally start painting. First I sprayed the whole sword with primer. Then I got some masking tape and put that over the handle and the spots where I want to paint gold later. Next I sprayed the whole sword with my new chrome silver before I got some of my graphite powder to give the handle parts a dark grey metallic look. After rubbing all that graphite powder in, I sprayed the whole sword with a glossy clear coat to finish it off. Then I just had to wait a few days for it to dry before it's time to paint all the final details. When it had dried, I removed all the masking tape and glued on the popsicle sticks to the handle. Then it's time to paint again. First I painted some spots with gold. Then it was time to mix together some brown paint for the handle. I wanted the paint to really fade into the wood, so I mixed the paint with a tiny bit of water before painting all the sides of the handle. With the rest of the brown paint, I decided to go over the rest of the sword and throw some dirt blocks at it, you know, to dirt it down so that it looks just a little bit more realistic. And to add one final touch, I got some silver paint and added highlights to a bunch of the edges of the sword. And once it had dried, the sword was finally done. So I think it's time for a cool montage. That was a lot of fun. Playing a bit of Minecraft in real life was so much fun. The sword turned out really awesome. It's definitely a cooler version of the sword in the game, and it will look really nice together with all my other 3D printed swords. And now, be sure to subscribe because you don't want to miss the other Minecraft projects I'm working on. If you want to see another cool project like this, you can watch this video next.